Greetings, everyone. This is the Fully Suited Jax. I'm the Quirky Bard.
This is the Wand Asian guy, or Punmaster Won. That was my old username.
Nice. And we're doing a quick podcast. We're going to basically explain, go through a few topics, basically things that we found interesting, and we're going to share, and we're going to pass that interest on to you. And with that, let's start with some local news. Take it away.
So, the WikiLeaks co-founder got arrested in London, and this is big news in terms of what is going on with the world right now. He's gonna get jailed in the US for sure for espionage for what happened with WikiLeaks. And if we could show pictures for this podcast, I would show him the video of his arrest, and he looks like a rat.
Yeah, it's like somebody called him Gandalf the Gross, and it's kind of funny. It's like they pictured him alongside Paul Rudd, and it's like Paul Rudd looks fucking phenomenal, and the guy is in his 50s, and it's like Julian Assange is only 3 years younger than him, and he looks like Santa Claus on crack.
I mean, look, he was 21 years old in 2001, and 7 years. He's like 28, about my age, and he looks like he's 60.
Wait, Julian Assange?
He was 21 in 2001.
Well, it's been about 70 years, so... How old is Julian Assange? I want to check that up. I want to check that right now.
Because I'm just going off Reddit, so...
Well...
Mark me if I'm wrong, because that was Reddit stuff I was looking up.
He's 47.
47.
Yeah.
Holy shit, he looks 60.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Paul Rudd looks fucking fantastic.
The thing is, though, this WikiLeaks thing, what happened was the country that was holding him there in the building, what do you call it? It's like
Embassy.
Embassy.
Yeah.
They got tired of him, and then they let London just swoop him away as with an arrest, and it's the U.S. is gonna get him because of what he did.
Yeah.
And it's been 7 years.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand what the premise of WikiLeaks was. I mean, don't get me wrong, I can understand that. But what it's becoming, that's the problem. That's where a lot of issues are coming from, is that it's whatever the purpose was for WikiLeaks, it's kind of been hijacked by one side. I'm not going to say who, but...
Well, that's the problem there with WikiLeaks in general, and how he was cooped up in that one embassy in a room for 7 years, and look what he looks like now. That's what happens. He's cooped up in a room for 7 years.
Pretty much. I mean, the thing is that he was going to be extradited if he didn't stick in the embassy. And now...
He pissed off the country that fed him.
Pretty much!
That is what happens when you piss off the people that feed you.
Yep, sometimes you bite the hand to feed you. You get tossed out on the streets.
Like Detective Pikachu.
Oh, Detective Pikachu. Great lead-in. Yeah. No, most people have been kind of not excited for this movie until the first trailer dropped and we heard Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. Detective Pikachu.
I've heard both sides from it, saying, oh, it looks so bad. Why did they make the Pokemon look so real? But it's like, come on. This might be one of those anime movies where they have got it right.
Well, yeah, I mean, they based a lot of what they did on... Basically, it was basically they used a person who had been really good at drawing fan pictures of Pokemon, and that's what got them the job. And not only that, but they were like with Mr. Mime, those things that we thought were hair. In the Pokédex, they weren't hair. I mean, literally, it states in the Pokédex that they are not hair, and that kind of went with it.
Well, yeah, because bless your face.
My face feels blessed. You have your blessing high-fived my face.
So, Detective Pikachu, it's like there's hype gaining around the anime community, unlike the mainstream community. They're trying to capture, but it's there. There's anime people, like community that wants to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, that does seem like the case. And honestly, I mean, it looks good, and plus, Ryan Reynolds just completely sells his Pikachu character.
Honestly, it looks amazing. Really, really fucking good. Like, that's how much I want to see the movie.
I mean, I was sold when Ryan Reynolds said, "Look, I know you can't understand me, but if you don't put the stapler down, I am going to electrocute you." And just like...
Honestly, that's like the best part of the trailer, though.
And here's the best part. The game itself kind of sucked, from what I hear. So, if the movie doesn't do well, oh well. It was based on a shitty video game. But if it does well, if the movie does well, then you can open up to a more mainstream.
I mean, look at Alita Battle Angel. That's a non-well-known anime. That's like only the otaku fan base would know what Alita Battle Angel is.
Yeah.
And yet that hit it off a home run.
Yeah.
And actually made money from that movie.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, I originally wasn't too sold on the eyes. The eyes looked kind of creepy to me, but they made it work. But the thing...
I mean the eyes, okay, hear me out on this. The eyes, they were going for that anime look, which they should have not done, but they somehow pulled it off.
They did. And it was... They went with more of the AV dual episode series, but they put in a lot of what I believe came from the mangas, because not very many people liked the two-part OVA series. Yeah, but that was my introduction to Battle Angel Alita.
It's funny how we're actually going into anime topic when that's supposed to be a little bit later on.
We'll get to that. We could skip around a little bit. But speaking of...
Since the date right now is 4/11/2019, what is around the corner?
Avengers Endgame. The one movie that will end the Marvel Cinematic Universe and bring it into harmony, much like the Wild Stallions did in the future of San Dimas.
I mean, while we're on the topic of Avengers Endgame, let's talk about Game of Thrones Season 8, because that is hitting tomorrow on the 12th.
Yeah.
Too, so let's get on to that too.
I know.
We talk about Avengers Endgame.
I never really got into the Game of Thrones series. I watched a little bit of it, but it didn't appeal to me. The stories themselves didn't appeal to me. I mean, I can get...
Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about it for a second.
Okay. Endgame, I mean, I haven't seen the original original Infinity War movie, but I know enough about it in the original kind of context to kind of make kind of this kind of follow along. It's kind of funny.
I mean, spoiler alert, Thanos snaps his finger. That's all you gotta know. Half the universe is gone.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you want more spoilers, Captain Marvel does show up at the very end of the... You know, in the very end of the trailer, the movie, they have the scene where Nick Fury drops the little device and it shows Captain Marvel's logo on it. And in Captain Marvel, she actually comes to little device and tells the other Avengers where's Fury. So she's definitely gonna be in the endgame.
Yeah, she's probably gonna be the one that is gonna save Tony Stark.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, here's something kind of interesting for you. The movie kind of made him more altruistic in the movie rather than in the comics. Though his reasoning for wanting to kill off half the universe was less so. Basically, the reason why he wanted to kill off half the universe when it came to the original Infinity War was so he can impress the embodiment of death, who was an attractive female with a skull instead of a face.
I mean, that's comic book, but if you see MCU movie, they derive more of the original aspect.
Well, it did make him more altruistic, as he actually had a decent enough reason why he wanted to perform the snap. It was just. But no, some people are seriously speculating that this has to be an end scene. That they have to have Thanos in a helicopter. That Thanos has to have his own helicopter. Or getting arrested by Squirrel Girl. Those are like the two things people want to see the most.
I think it's an end of the era of the very first Avengers that we got to know and love for that 10 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, Marvel hit it out of the park with their cinematic universe. But here's the thing. Marvel is used to doing crossovers, used to doing non-episodic series, like doing entire arcs and sagas, which is kind of why DC is not capable of doing the same thing. It's because DC has been so used to doing kind of like beginning, middle, and end in each comic it wrote.
Okay, let's not go down through that rabbit hole because that's not our topic.
Oh, well, DC runs really good what it does episodical, like as a clear beginning, middle, and end. It just, they don't know how to do continuations. But, speaking of things like going on back up to our Detective Pikachu topic, let's talk about other adaptations, or rather, turning animation to live action.
Well, I mean, adaptation. You did say adaptation.
I did.
And Game of Thrones drops tomorrow. And I know you don't watch the show, but it is super to the community that does.
Oh yeah, I'm not ragging on anyone for
it is great.
I'm not ragging on anyone for watching it. I'm not one of those people like, oh, I don't watch Game of Thrones. I don't like it. Nobody should ever watch that. Honestly, it just doesn't appeal to me. But my sister loves it. You love it. I mean, I can see the appeal.
And people are betting on who lives or dies, or whoever gets on the throne. And there's already a whole bunch of 30 videos on who's going to be sitting on the throne at the end of season 8.
Spoiler alert.
It's crazy funny, too, with these theories.
Well, honestly, I'm going to tell you the answer. There is only one valid answer I will accept. Grover. Grover from Sesame Street. He ultimately won the Game of Thrones there. And I expect him to just show up and go, oh, I see this seat is vacant. I've won the Game of Thrones.
No, he has Targaryen blood.
No, he's got Hensonian blood. And then we just see Kurt in the background going, oh, this is Kermit the Frog here speaking. Mr. Lannister, Mr. Tyrion, do you drink Wilkins coffee? No, I don't. Boom! And he loses just, oh, that's a shame.
Okay, since we're on the topic of kid shows, let's gear towards Aladdin and Lion King.
Aladdin. And what is Game of Thrones a kid show?
No, you were talking about Grover.
Okay, that, yes. I can see that.
Let's talk about the Disney's live action of these movies.
Okay, now, originally, we were discussing these topics. You were kind of ragging a little bit on Aladdin.
Yes, it's Will Smith. He's blue. He looks like the guy from what was it? How Not to like what's the one movie where the guy turns blue and he goes into the swimming pool? It's a 90s movie.
I know the actor. It was Paul Giamatti. Big Fat Liar.
Big Fat Liar. He looks like Big Fat Liar when the guy jumps into the pool and turns blue as he comes out of the pool. That's how Will Smith looks like as the genie.
The genie is supposed to be blue, though. That's the thing they're carrying over. And honestly...
I know Will Smith is a great actor.
What, you wanted to be like... You wanted to be like Shaquille O'Neal's Kazam? Or was
Yes.
it... No!
That would be original good.
They're trying to go with the Disney genie, though. Kind of like how with Pinocchio, itself is public domain, but Jiminy Cricket isn't. That being Jiminy Cricket being copyrighted to Disney. But honestly, I mean, if Will Smith can do it, I mean, he's not Robin Williams, and I think that's the biggest thing that people have a shocker with, is he's not Robin Williams. He's going to be his own genie, and I think we should give him a chance for that.
Well, I'll just wait till the movie comes out, drops on Blu-ray. I'll probably watch it then, but I'm not gonna give Disney money unless people rave about it for so long after 6 weeks of release, then maybe I watch it. But then, let's talk about Lion King, because they actually brought the original voice actor for Mufasa.
James Earl Jones. You know, it's kind of funny. James Earl Jones and, I forgot the woman who played his wife. They were actually the original king and queen of Zamunda in Coming to America. Eddie Murphy.
That's a fun fact.
That is a very fun fact. And they, again, nailed it out of the park. Oh, yeah. You remember Mufasa when he said, everything the light touches is your kingdom?
Mm-hmm.
That explains why he said, before sunrise, he's your son.
That's pretty funny, actually.
But I don't think they should have done a live action of The Lion King because they're keeping it as almost hyper-realistic.
I think that's the point, because they're trying to make it look like what do you call it? National Geographic's or Planet Earth.
Why? But what? Okay, in the words of a famous green alien, okay, but why though? I mean, the half of the thing is you're selling emotion. And I think with The Lion King, the animated...
Girls get wet with super realistic dog-looking things.
Let's not bring up bestiality into this! Let's not! Please? Please? No bestiality, please! Save that for the No, I can't bring that.
That's not funny, though. Girls like dogs. And a lion is sort of a cat.
I will give you that.
They're gonna sell movies by... That's their audience.
Yeah, but the thing is, we got attached because we could show the emotions in animation. You could see Simba when he's in his paw step of his father, just how minuscule he actually looked. It's like, almost like saying, I got some pretty big shoes to fill with that one, and it's like, you can't portray that emotion with an animal being exactly like an animal. And that's what the animation kind of allowed for, was you can sort of...
No, I got an idea. What if the movie releases, you just take out the audio and put Samuel L. Jackson or whoever is a godly voice actor and make it into a Planet Earth 3.
Oh, then it has to be Morgan Freeman. It has to be Morgan Freeman.
Voiceover with that movie, you just take out the audio and now it becomes a Planet Earth 3 with Morgan Freeman's voiceover. I would watch it.
Who wouldn't watch Morgan Freeman? That guy's got voice like sweet molasses. Top fact of Morgan Freeman, he goes through 4 to 5 microphones a day because every single one he talks into turns into a bar of gold.
I mean, look at it. If they do it that way, or someone parodies it, It'll be Planet Earth 3 all over.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Rift Tracks. Rift Tracks with Morgan Freeman. Just narrating it all. Yeah.
Okay, since now we're in the era, we're in the biosphere of 3D CGI. Basically, Lion King is all super realistic 3D. Let's talk about Epic Store. How mad people are with their exclusives, because it angers me as I am a PC gamer and I'm a dedicated Steam user, and I don't like how they just buy exclusive games from developers and say, hey, we're going to hold this game hostage for 6 months or 12 months, and then they'll go out into the wild. That rages me.
Now, see, I am a console gamer, so exclusivity is nothing new for me. Of course, the biggest difference between console gaming exclusivity and, let's say, the Epic Store is the fact that you have two different pieces of hardware, and so you have to work around at different... Well, you did back in the early days of Gen 2 with the Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Master Drive, which then upgraded in the Gen 3 with the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. By the way, Gen 1 was the Atari. That was Gen 1. And then it's like, then eventually with Gen 4, with the PlayStation going into disc-based, which kicked off the next generation, and so Nintendo choosing to remain cartridged up until, what, Gen 5, I believe? With the...
N64.
N64 was Gen 4. But no, exclusivity was pretty much the norm, because of the different hardwares to work for. But when it comes to the computer, it's all the same hardware. And nowadays, cross-play is even easier because everyone's using the similar hardware in the PS4 and in the Xbox 360. So it's much harder to pass off exclusivity for third-party publishers. Exclusivity will always be a thing for first-party. After all, you've got to sell your product.
I mean, look at Rocket League. Because it's a game that could be played on PS4, Switch, and yet you can play with people that play on PC.
Yes, that too.
Like, it's an ecosystem that people love about PC, because we're pretty much now linking all three consoles together through game, and they're not blocked by walls of the company anymore, and all the games are sort of going the route of, hey, let's take these Sony wall out, or Microsoft wall out, or Nintendo wall out, and these people just play together on one single game. And yet, Epic Store is like, hey, we're 2002 again, and this game's exclusive for 12 months. Do you know how much rage that has made for the PC community?
Oh, true. I mean, it used to be back in the day, you had to pop in the disc, you had to boot up directly from the disc, and when you were done, you had to eject the disc if you want to play a new game. I mean, with Steam did something interesting. It allowed you to have a collection of games that you can just download and play without having a disc for it. And
I mean, I did get you into Steam to play, the game Uno and Golf It, so you do understand where I'm coming from.
Well, I already had a Steam account, and I was already playing games on Steam. Like, I had played Undertale, I was playing a game called Sunny, I played a couple of games called Epic Fantasy Battles, the 4th and 5th episodes, Axiom Verge, to name a few. I didn't really start playing with other people up until I started playing with you. In Uno and in Golf It, as well as Stick Fight, the game. But I can understand where people are coming from with this rage against Epic. Essentially, it's not two different consoles to work for with different hardware. It's the same.
Different softwares.
Yeah, it's just software. I mean, or rather, it's just a browser, or You know what I'm saying, right? It's not necessarily
It's a storefront.
exactly. It's
It's
like
not PC cannot be different hardware because people could build their own PC or go buy their PC. It's all the same thing. It's you buy an operating system.
I found a way of equating it. It's like if Best Buy held the exclusive rights to, like, let's say, Devil May Cry 5, and GameStop couldn't sell it for 6 months, or another video game store couldn't sell it for 6 months. That's kind of what...
Makes no sense.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, you can go to a game store and buy a game to play it. But it's like if one store holds exclusivity over it and won't allow any other game store to sell it, they're going to lose money on that. And
yeah, the thing is, they're not losing money with the game because Epic Store provide them with more money, saying, "Hey, 12 months it'll be in our store, and then after that it'll go on to Steam." So they're not losing money by not selling because Epic Store just gave them a butt ton of cash.
no, I'm talking about not the publisher. I'm talking about, like I said, Best Buy would make the money. If people really wanted the game that badly, Best Buy would make the money, while the other two, let's say the other stores, would be losing that money. Because...
Isn't that what anti-consumer is? And that's what Epic Store is doing?
Yeah. That's kind of why people don't like it.
An anti-consumer logic right there, and that's not what I want as a consumer.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of is bad.
I mean, the only reason I own a PS4 is because I want to play God of War, I want to play The Last of Us 2. Those are only Sony exclusive games that never reached the PC.
But that's only
more a Nintendo Switch with a Mario game is because it's only exclusive to Mario, yet these games that come out on these consoles like a PS4 or Xbox One, like Metro, the new one that came out. It came out on PS4, on Xbox, or Borderlands 3. Those are coming out on the console. Yeah, PC, we have to buy it through a company we don't want to buy it from.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from, but, I mean, like, the reason why you can't play God of War on another system is because that's a Sony property.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like, Borderlands 3 is not a property of Epic Store Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they bought exclusive rights to it. That's not fair.
Basically, Gearbox actually shanghaied the publisher because the game studio didn't care for that. Gearbox.
The game studio wanted it to be on Steam, and the publishers made a deal with Epic Games. You see where I'm coming from?
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot wrong. There was a lot that I heard that was kind of wrong with Borderlands. Like, they wanted to really kind of focus on the story, but some people were like, no, go for the multiplayer. But I'm like, they're one and the same. It's an MMO FPS RPG. It's
look at Gearbox though. It's like Gearbox wanted to pull it out on Steam. There's even trailers saying, "Hey, Borderlands 3 is coming out on Steam," and then whoop, a week or a month later, I think another trailer drops and it has that Epic Store logo on it. What the fuck?
Oh, I have a feeling they're gonna pirate it.
No, that's what's happening right now with the PC realm. People are pirating games that they wanted to originally buy on Steam, and piracy is going up.
Yeah, I could see that being a problem. It's having an adverse side effect. I mean, if Epic Game Store was good, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't having this issue, and if there wasn't exclusivity. But I mean, if there wasn't a reason to download Epic Game Store, probably nobody would buy it unless it had good quality games. And that's the kind of thing that
they're buying exclusive games, and it's like there's games that I've seen Markiplier play, and yet It's in the game store, so I don't want to touch it.
Well,
The game looks amazing fun when Markiplier plays it. When I look it up on Google, oh, it's on the Epic Game Store. Well, rip me, I'm not buying.
what game was that?
Oh, I forgot. Let me look it up. Markiplier.
Well, while you're looking it up, what are some, speaking of games, what games are you kind of looking forward to? What games do you like at the moment?
I'm currently not playing much games right now. I'm waiting for Super Mario Maker 2 and Halo Master Chief Edition to drop on PC.
Yeah, those games look pretty sweet. Me myself, I mean, I'm right now replaying Persona 5 for the third time straight. Due to fresh playthrough. This game is about 100 hours, but it's well worth the content. But the one thing I really kind of looking forward to is Streets of Rage 4. Now that game series was my childhood. I played through the second one almost religiously, and the third game was pretty cool too. I liked how they fixed a lot of things, but in the American port, oh my god. It's like they took the harder difficulties and they set them to normal. It's kind of, do you know Devil May Cry series, which is also putting Capcom back on the map.
Yeah.
And the original Devil May Cry 3 was said to be so hard that Capcom had to release a second special edition that was actually easier. And that's kind of what happened with Street.
I found the game.
What game?
It's called Satisfactory.
Oh, that game.
And that's on the game store.
Ah, I hear you. Yeah. Anyways, with Streets of Rage 3, I actually got the Japanese original, and it is so much easier. Like, so much easier. I mean, bosses were taken up to a ridiculous level in Streets of Rage 3 for the American release. Like, especially the harder difficulties, it's just like you could fight a boss with like 7 health bars. 7 health bars! Can you imagine that? And now a new game is right around the corner. A new Streets of Rage game. And it looks pretty damn fantastic. There's no word yet of whether or not the original composer for Streets of Rage 4 is going to be on board. Or if they're going to be using all original tracks. But, I mean, from what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, it's actually not too damn bad. It's actually doing picking up a lot more with the combat. I mean, the combat was pretty decent, but now you're able to juggle opponents in the air. So it's like it's taking cues from fighting games. But again, I have also been playing a little bit of Devil May Cry 5, and I'll probably get back into playing it once I get done with Persona 5, because that game is epic too. And of course, Mario Maker 2, coming out for the Switch, is gonna be epic! Not speaking...
They dropped the pre-purchase button on the shop already.
They probably will do it by next month.
Because once I do that, I'm pressing that button and I'm pre-purchasing it as soon as it drops.
Well, kind of going up to about a couple of discussions ago where we talking about Battle Angel Alita. Guess what? Guess what anime is getting a live action update as well?
Well, what is?
Apparently, Cowboy Bebop is officially a go for live action, and guess who they're having as their Spike Spiegel?
Tell me, that sounds interesting.
John Cho, the guy who played Sulu in Star Trek and a couple other movies. I think was he in Harold and Kumar as well?
He was the main guy for Harold.
Yeah, he was Harold. So I mean, John Cho going from Harold and Kumar to Star Trek, where he actually utilized a katana as Sulu, which was going to be his traditional weapon. in the original series, the original Star Trek, but George Takei didn't know how to use a katana, so they gave him a rapier during the time in which he used the weapon. But John Cho actually sold the katana with Sulu.
Huh.
Yeah.
I really think it might be one of those movies that a Western Hollywood could actually adapt and make it great.
Well, yeah.
Because Cowboy Bebop is up in the alley. It's like a sci-fi Western. Exactly.
It's not quite as sci-fi Western as, let's say, Firefly, but oh my god, Spike Spiegel carries about him this whole tragic coolness, and with Spike Spiegel, John Cho, I think, could pull off that tragic coolness. Now, whether or not they're going to try and summarize the entire series in one movie, I don't know. Whether or not they're going to do like what they did with the original Cowboy Bebop movie, where they kind of just had an episode, kind of like it was its own unique episode. I don't know.
John Cho's a great cast for Spike, but they need the other 3 cast members for the misadventures they have.
Oh yeah, you need Faye. You need a perfect Faye Valentine, and honestly, some people were speculating that Keanu Reeves might be tapped for Spike Spiegel, but I think he could play Jet Black pretty well too.
Yeah, but Keanu Reeves is like everyone cemented him as John Wick ever since the John Wick.
Well, he's already been. Well, he's already been kind of taken in for Neo. I mean, John Wick is really only Neo with guns, if you think about it, and no powers.
No, it's Neo without Matrix power.
That's what I said.
It's like if Neo was like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna take the red pill and go back to the normal world just so I could turn into John Wick.
No, that's the blue pill.
Yeah, the blue pill.
Yeah, blue pill is when he would go wake up and remember what just remember what it was, and the red pill would take him down to Wonderland.
But it's basically Neo taking the blue pill and becoming John Wick in the simulation.
Yes.
And becomes the boogeyman.
Pretty much.
That's why I cannot unsee Keanu Reeves. He takes characters way too seriously, and Spike is more of the Asian descent kind of character, so I think John Cho would be the better fit for that character.
Yeah, and if they pull it off well, like they did with Battle Angel Alita, I can see another great hit coming in.
I mean, anime is in the stage of... Do you know when Marvel movies first came out, it was like, hey, maybe they could pull this one off, or it's going to be a bust. We're in that phase with anime movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Marvel knew what it was, kind of had an idea of what it would do. It's like, it give us a solid story, but leave it open enough to where we can have a sequel, or even join them together.
Well, that's what I'm saying with anime movies. It's like, we're in the era of they're experimenting with anime movies, see what sticks or not, and if it does stick, then they're going to be pumping out more and more anime movies.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like the movie Your Name, they want to adapt that into a Western world, and it's like into the Western sphere where it takes place in America, but it's like, if that needs to happen, spoiler alert, they need a spiritual place to make it happen, because Kimi no Nawa took place with the spiritual world in sense of a way.
Yeah, I could see them going with Native American traditions pretty easily. But since we're on an anime kick, how about going on with some seasonal anime that you actually introduced me to?
Rising of the Shield Hero.
I know, it's like, that anime is both great and bad. And it's like, I watch it, and it's just like, you motherfuckers, you are complete dicks to this guy, and you still haven't even gone to the exact reason why. And it's like the king is whatever grudge he had with what I'm guessing is that something happened with a previous shield hero, and the king is holding onto a grudge about that.
Or the shield heroes were just dicks no matter what when they summoned him, so now they're treating him like a dick. And now he's getting the repercussion of, hey, this world hates me, so F off, I'm giving guys the finger.
I don't know, because the demi-humans liked him. The demi-humans thought of him as a hero. As their hero, because he actually stood up with them. And it's kind of like when dealing with the raccoon girl, Raphtalia, he used the slavery as a method of strengthening her. It's like, he didn't use it to say,
Look at the latest episode on episode 14, where, was it Thera?
Yeah.
Was hiding, and she's like, where did she go? And then he's like, I demand, I order you to come down to me at once. And then the shield, the freebie mark activates, and she gives like the most cutest face and goes like, why'd you do that?
You're mean, Master. Well, he did call for her first. But the thing is, it's like, with Raphtalia, his first slave, he didn't abuse her.
He used it as a way of strengthening her.
Yes, it's like, I need you right now. But when this is all over, I'm going back to my world, and I want you to be strong enough to stand on your own. And
she has that love interest to the main character.
Yeah, but isn't she like 10 in the head and 20 in the body?
That's what it says on the fandom Wikipedia of the Rising of the Shield Hero.
Come on, she still thinks you get pregnant from kissing.
You do get pregnant when you hold hands in anime.
or the one time in which a guy grabbed the bunny girl, or the girl's, headband, and all of a sudden, whoa.
Oh, it's anime logic.
Well, there probably was a reason for that. But,
honestly, since it's only on episode 14, we still have ways to go. I have read the light novels for The Rising of the Shield Hero, but I heard it's gonna get good, and there's 24 episodes, so
I thought 25.
Still 10 more episodes to go.
I thought 25.
24. 25 is the OVA.
Okay, so there's gonna be some continuation. But yeah,
some continuation, but OVAs don't continue story.
Well, still, we're starting to get into the whole sordid history of what actually happened between the first wave and the second wave. And
the Queen is the main big topic of episode 14. He's trying to get to the Queen.
While the elder daughter is using a lie of the shield hero kidnapping her younger sister, whom is groomed to be the next queen, in a matriarchal society, where it's the queen that has the power, not the king. But it's like...
So I'm gonna think the king and the firstborn princess will probably get beheaded or something in the likes of that. The queen does return.
I keep hearing something along the lines of what she lied about in episode 1 may actually happen to her.
Ooh, oh my god.
I wouldn't wish it.
That would make sense.
I wouldn't wish it on her, but actually, I wouldn't. I'm gonna ignore that. But I wouldn't wish that on her. But if it happens, it happens. And honestly, if it happens, it's just gonna be like, oh well. Because she used that. She stole everything he had at the moment from him the first night, pretending to be his ally, and then accused him of rape. And it's just like...
Which animes don't do these sort of things where it's like guys could be accused of this, yet we get the full blunt force and ruin our life, yet the girl gets scot-free. It's same current world topic.
Well,
And
a lot
it's
of
like
a lot of the time though, I mean, I'm one of the lucky few who got the false rape accusation, and I'm okay. I don't really have much of a tarnished reputation. I mean, it's a long, complicated issue on that one. But suffice to say, there was really no way for me to have committed the deed. But I mean, with Malty, she hadn't. There was enough fault in evidence to where if somebody had gone and looked at it, it would have been obvious. Like the fact that the corset or the nightgown she was wearing was cut cleanly. And what can the shield hero not do? Wield a weapon. So
I think that's what the queen is going to subject to, because she's going to find that evidence and say, you try to hold the weapon, and then he'll be like, oh crap, I can't do it still. And then they're going to be like, she lied.
well, the queen can possibly clear his name, and that might end up garnering him some support. I mean, I like, honestly, the whole Rising of the Shield Hero kind of does harken a little bit to Persona 5, with the main protagonist having been accused of assault by one of the game's antagonists, though you don't know it right away. I mean, you can make sense of it as the character, as the player. I mean, it does make it pretty clear that your life was ruined by this one guy, but he doesn't realize it until the very end. Until it's time to target said individual. But, I mean, that's the kind of thing I can see. I can see aspects of myself within Naofumi and the protagonist for Persona 5. It's the fact that, I mean, and here's the funny thing is, it's like, Naofumi's level of not giving a shit is higher than the other three heroes giving absolute fucks. I mean, it's just like, he says he doesn't care, but he will go out of his way to help people that,
Look, the other three heroes are pretty much sucked up piece of crap. The spear hero is legitimately a pedo. Episode 13 cemented that.
Well, I don't think he would necessarily be quote-unquote a pedophile. I mean, the thing is, it's like, he might be a lolicon, but, kind of here's the thing. I mean, we don't exactly know Philo's true age, essentially. So she could be quote-unquote an adult. But the thing is that with Spear Hero, he had everything handed to him. And even his one attempt to be, quote-unquote a hero, turned out to ruin an entire area. And Naofumi had to clean up the mess. And even
Yet they blamed him for taking the credit.
Of course they did. Well, technically, the other two heroes took for taking credit for what they did. But Ren understood exactly once it was explained to him what happened, why Naofumi got credit for that. It's because Ren realized, the sword hero realized, that this world has consequences. You don't just kill a dragon and it go poof,
It's the cause and effect.
Exactly, this is a real world, to some degree. Is that, yeah, they might have RPG stats, but everything has consequences. Everything has, what's the word I'm looking for? Permeance. Killing a dragon has permeance over it. So killing the dragon adversely affected the area because he didn't properly dispose of the dragon. Not that he thought he needed to, but I think honestly, Sword Hero's is starting to think a lot about what's going on, because especially when he started witnessing Malty going off the rails trying to kill her sister, Melty. By the way, great naming. Great naming. Right.
I mean, it's a light novel. They come up with the most random names. Melty and Malty is the two princess names.
Oh, it gets kind of... there's a webcomic I was reading back in the day called Dominic Deegan. And you have these two orc brothers. One is named Adric Bulgak. And guess what his brother's name is?
What?
Bulgak Adric. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was webcomic series was pretty good. But anyways, going back on to Shield Hero, I mean, we learned later on that Bow Hero Itsuki is just... gets worse than Spear Hero. I mean, he's already...
He just doesn't care.
Oh, no, he doesn't care at all. And that's the thing, is it's like... I think the problem with, Natsuyono is the name of Spear Hero?
I think so.
The thing about Spear Hero, and I'm looking up his name right now, is the fact that
That's not his name. The picture I sent you is not his name.
That was his name. Motoyasu. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
That is his name, Motoyasu. Yeah, I mean, Motoyasu, I think, actually gives a shit about the world, but he's told he's a hero. You're a hero. You're great. You're wonderful. And it's gotten to his head. I mean, it's probably going to come a point to which he's going to get a major deflation. Honestly, I think there's going to come a point, it's going to come to a point to where, you know, when the queen comes back and she reveals all this treachery from the church and the king, that the people are like, oh shit. And they're going to try and find a way of making amends to him. And honestly,
we gotta see, because it's 24 episodes. We got 10 more episodes.
Yeah, I mean, this couple episodes is looking into the past of Raphtalia, which, oh my god, it's starting to get kind of heartachy. Because, I mean...
in episode 14, doesn't she find her...
abuser.
place?
Her abuser.
Yeah.
I mean, we find out how she actually got into slavery in the first place, and it was through the king. It's like the king raided the village and kidnapped everybody and forced them into slavery. And it's like, what the fuck is wrong with you to do that, you know? And it's like...
I hope in episode 15 we see justice.
Yeah. Hopefully, fingers crossed. But, and again, I'm not holding my breath. I mean, there is a reason why his type of villainy is, why Idol's villainy is so prevalent in life, in an anime, is because he's real. I mean, this is what makes, kind of going to Harry Potter, this is why so many people really, really, really hate Umbridge over Voldemort. It's because Voldemort is just seeking power to seek power. Because he can't care about anything. The love potion that was conceived him, the love potion that he was conceived by affected him, making him incapable of loving, thus making him incapable of caring, and thus making him incapable of holding on to an ideal. But Umbridge was able to hold off 100 Dementors with a single Patronus in an area with, basically by telling Muggleborns they were inferior. Basically, she got off on the racism. She got off on her bigotry. That is where she felt most powerful. And most happy is when she was denying the rights of others. Same here with Idol and the king, is that they don't explain exactly why the king hates demi-humans so much. It might have been he was a local lord, and
I think that explains more.
The local lord and the shield hero might have freed a whole bunch of demi-humans to help them live in peace, but, like, I guess the king's family got caught in the crossfire.
I mean, look at the other episodes. Didn't the king get mad over slavery? Yet slavery's abundant throughout that anime.
He got upset. It wasn't. He was using slavery as a vehicle. In this case, he was being a hypocrite. It's like the reason why he was being a hypocrite about it was he didn't necessarily care that Raphtalia was free. I think he wanted to free her from him, from Naofumi. So that way Naofumi would be once again alone and unable to protect the people, unable to do his duty. And unfortunately, that's going to be a huge problem, because I think there's a reason why all 4 heroes were summoned, not just the 3 blades, not the sword, bow, and spear heroes.
You can't have an all-attack hero when there's a super defense.
Yeah, eventually it's going to come to a point to where they're going to have to rely on him. And I fully expect him to make them grovel for it.
I mean, while we're on the topic of anime, let's talk about One Punch Man Season 2.
Now, I caught snippets of One Punch Man Season 1, and it was definitely... I think it comes to a point, it's like... When it comes to certain series, it's like... They try to capitalize on something without understanding what made the original so great. The fact that One Punch Man was a satirical look at shonen anime...
No. The thing is, though, I'm hearing myself. Holy shit.
I'm sorry about that. I mean...
The thing with One Punch Man, though, it's... The company is different.
Oh, so it's
not made by the original company of Season 1.
Ah, that would explain it. So they're trying to get...
The director is not back with the top animators of this anime industry. That's why the quality dropped so much in Season 2.
Ah, so I get it. So definitely they jumped the shark.
Because people were saying we would have waited a year for those original animators, the top of the line guys in the anime industry, to come back, to go back for One Punch Man Season 2.
Well, yeah, they would have gotten it right.
Yet, producers wanted it now.
And they're going to kill off the series for it.
And it's like, I watched Season 1. It was okay, it was watchable, but I dropped it. I was like, I'm not watching it.
Well, One Punch Man was supposed to be a satirical look at, was supposed to be a satirical look at superheroes and shonen anime. Being over the top as it was meant to...
Look what they did to my boy, Genos.
Yeah.
He looks like a CG piece of crap now.
Okay, so I am definitely glad I dropped it. I'm definitely glad I'm not going into Season 2.
Season 2, because in Season 1, Genos' android's looking thing, right? It looks really well drawn and like very perfected.
Yes.
Season 2, it's all CG.
Oh god.
It looks like it came out of a PS2 game.
Oh god. I am so glad I'm not watching Season 2. And then watch, they're gonna do the same thing they did with Dragon Ball. Remember GT?
Mm-hmm.
Remember how quickly it was dropped in favor of Super?
Oh, almost immediately.
Oh yeah. And as soon as it's like Super, as soon as GT came out, and it's like, yeah, we don't like this. Akira Toriyama was like, we need to come up with a more original Dragon Ball. And then so, out came out Super.
I mean, that's what a lot of people in the anime community, like r/anime on Reddit, say, hey, let Studio Bones come back for season 3. Because season 2 is a disaster right from the start, from season 1.
Yeah.
Or from season 2, episode 1.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the issues with that.
Because what I heard online is episode 1 is done, 2 and 3 is done. They haven't gotten close to finishing episode 4 or 5 yet, as I heard.
Yeah, and I that's kind of like, that's kind of the sad part, too, is that it's like, you know, executives get greedy for things, and it's like, all of a sudden, it's like, you lose the appeal of what made it so good in the first place. You know, and it's just like, and that's kind of what makes it so sad, is that you no longer have that passion. You have it replaced with corporate greed. I mean, it's not the way what most ends up turning most series down in the first place. Is just corporate.
Most animes.
Yeah, it's like most shows in general is corporate greed. I mean, I really wish the show would grow back its beard in the 3rd season, since it considered jumping the shark in the 2nd one.
The mainstream audience would probably watch it, but anime enthusiasts that know what good quality anime is compared to watchable to shit.
Yeah.
The mainstream would watch it, but I don't think the anime community in large would continue watching season 2.
Yeah. Okay, anyways, for those of you who don't know what growing the beard means, it actually originates from Star Trek. It deals with the second in command, Riker, actually growing out a full beard in the 2nd season. And it was when the series actually started taking off. The writing became better, the action became basically all the themes became far better in the 2nd season, and that was the season that Riker grew out his beard. Therefore, anything that's a noticeable uptick in quality is called growing the beard. And of course, I don't think I need to tell you all about what jumping the shark came from, but if you need to know, Happy Days, Fonz tries to jump over a bunch of sharks. I forgot exactly what they were in, but that's when the series kind of went from good to not so good. And there's my explanations of the tropes we were talking about. So what anime movie you were talking about?
So you know the director Makoto Shinkai, the guy that made Your Name.
Yes, the man that made me cry like a little baby.
Honestly, you liked it.
It was good. It was an emotional. It was. I enjoyed. It was. It's one of those movies you can't really put into words. Yes, it was great. It was animated beautifully. It was a wonderful story. It was an emotional roller coaster ride from beginning to end. And honestly, I will never see that movie again. It's good, but I will never see it again. I just can't do it. My heart can't take it.
It was the best movie of 2016 when it released in Japan. And then when it went to the United States, it was a big hit.
Well, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It was great. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I am never watching it again, though.
But he's making a new movie.
I know! And I don't want to get the feels. I don't want to get the feels again. I have had enough of the feels for a while.
Well, the name of it is Weathering With You, and if you want to see the trailer, it's like a minute long, but there's, I'll say it's like really good on animation. Have a watch.
Well, yeah, I mean, the artistry is wonderful. Again, I mean, it was a great movie. It was an excellent movie. It was most excellent. It would just made me cry!
So we're talking about Weathering With You here. Have you seen the trailer I showed you?
I have not.
Scroll up, you'll see it.
I see it, and I know what it is. Fine, I'll watch it on podcast. Even though I can't understand it.
Just
これは僕と
see
クッキーが知っている
the animation.
I will!
世界の秘密についての
Yes.
物語だ。
Then I can't understand it.
You don't need to understand it. Just watch it.
I already know I'm gonna get feels from this movie.
あの日、私たちは世界の形を決定的に変えてしまったんだ。
Oh god, she's a ninja.
できることはまだあるかい僕にできることはまだあるかい
This movie is gonna give me so many feels. I can tell you right now. So many freaking feels. It's gonna be worse than... It's gonna be worse than Markiplier and Chad. Kind of feels.
You know, in Your Name, right? The
Yes.
band that sang the intro music and all the soundtrack to Your Name?
Yes.
They're back with Weathering With You. Don't fix whatever's broke. And I think this is gonna hit it off. The band's back making the songs for the movie.
Yes, the music also too sold the anime very well.
I mean, even the trailer, you saw it. The music alone could sell you the movie.
Yes, yes. Like I said, I loved every aspect of it. I believe it to be a masterpiece. I'm just never watching it again. Ever.
Look, he's like the modern version, the modern era of Studio Ghibli. He's
I
like the
never cried
founder
during a
of
Studio Ghibli movie. I never
He's
cried during one of those.
He's like the director of. He's like the new age director of Miyazaki.
Yeah,
He's
but
like the new era Miyazaki.
okay, granted, I was too young to cry during Grave of the Fireflies. I might have cried at that movie. I watched
I
that.
mean, if you were older with Grave of the Fireflies, you might have cried.
Yeah, it was It was definitely a very poignant movie, very sad.
And I'm just saying, is Makoto Shinkai could probably be the next Miyazaki with Studio Ghibli.
Either that, or I only cry when it's a happy ending. I don't know.
The premises of Weathering With You, though, is every time the girl prays when it's raining, it stops raining. Yet, she is above in the clouds.
So something's gonna happen with her,
Something's gonna happen with the girl.
and we're gonna get feels.
The field stream. Yeah.
Yes, and not even Spider-Man can stop that train.
And I think this is all the topics we're talking about.
Yep. And now, something you won't believe. That's it. That's all we got.
We don't have sponsors because we're too small.
Well, I mean, this is our first podcast. We can't do the Sun One Cho thing where we do the whole clickbait title. Just you wouldn't believe. Why would that work? And it's getting 50,000 hits. I already said I wouldn't believe it. Sun One Cho.
I think I'll say if we do the next podcast and if this actually reaches people on Spotify, we'll probably get a sponsor for the next one.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Well, anyways, well, thank you for it's pretty much all the time we have and all the topics we have covered. So, once again, I am the Quirky Bard.
And Punmaster Won. Check us out on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
If we actually do put this up on Spotify, just look up Punmaster Won on youtube.com/Punmaster Won and give your YouTube link out.
And this will also be featured on the main on our main page, the Fully Suited Jacks. Now, normally I don't get too political, and I don't think this is that political, even in the beginning. But we're not. I'm gonna have a separate channel where I will get political, and that's gonna be Talk Warrior. Now, if I do a whole universe thing in which we incorporate other characters and whatnot, Talk Warrior will never be part of that. Will never be a part of that world. Just letting you know that. That's completely separate.
This sort of podcast is just for more entertainment and video game. We like to discuss and throw out our ideas and our perspective.
Yes. If we do talk about news a little bit, we'll try to keep it to just what we think about the it's something that we can just kind of throw out there as kind of staying as apolitical as possible. But with that, this is the Quirky Bard
And Punmaster Won.
signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day.